100,000 subscribers. We did it! I am overwhelmed by gratefulness, and this has been an amazing journey so far, and it is only the beginning. I have so many plans and I have so many long form videos coming, but today, to celebrate, I wanted to do something a little bit unusual, and I have asked you guys to ask me anything, questions that I could answer to in a video, and here's the video. So without any further ado, let's get started. VoidEye23 asks, tell us your chess journey, how and why did you start, and moments worth remembering. So this might come as a surprise to many people, but I am actually part of the wave of people that started playing chess after the Queen's Gambit and because of the Queen's Gambit. I just happened to watch the show with my girlfriend one evening, and I loved it. And after the last episode, basically as soon as it finished, I thought, well, okay, this was a great show, but what is so interesting about chess? Like, why all of these people are going to these tournaments and studying for hours? Like, how can it possibly be that deep? I couldn't understand how, on 64 squares with those 32 pieces, there could be that much happening, that so many people would recognize chess as this like amazing game. I couldn't understand it. So I went on the App Store, I looked up chess, and the first result was chess.com. I downloaded that. One moment that is worth remembering is when I started telling people that I was getting into chess. It turned out that some of my friends already did play a little bit of chess. I have a friend that was about 1200 at the time, and so we started playing a few games, and I was absolutely getting destroyed. He would just run his knight out the board and fork me every single time. So it's quite funny to look back at those moments, and well, now I'm over 2000, and so if I play against this friend, I cook him. Imneokz asks, how old are you? I am now 25. Erenjäger61924 asks, what's your height? I am 6'1". And Rahim48560 asks, when is your birthday? I was born on the 12/12/2000. And one little interesting fact about my birthday is that I turned 12 on the 12/12/2012. I am one of those kids. Jesus Menard asks, do you work in something different than chess? Well, not anymore. But up until last year, I used to teach music. Again, almost nobody here knows this, but I studied music, in particular modern popular music. And I have actually written, recorded, produced and published 3 songs. I have been a singer all my life, I play a little bit of piano, and I know my way around Logic. The reason why I don't work in music anymore is because when I moved to London last year, it was actually quite hard to find a job at first teaching music, and so I picked up teaching chess. And I soon realized that there's a lot more request for chess teachers rather than music teachers. A lot of people are very good at music, not so many people are good at chess. Or at least in my experience, it was easier to find work. For about 8 months or so, I was doing both, half and half, but it was becoming unmanageable. I really couldn't focus all my attention to either one of them, and I was always running behind. And so eventually I decided to give up on music and dedicate my full time to chess. It was a hard choice because, well, music is what I studied and it is a big passion of mine, but I wouldn't necessarily say that teaching music was a passion of mine. And at the same time, chess is a very big passion of mine, although very new. And so I still feel extremely blessed of being able to work with chess. Yunoshin11111 asks, hello, how did you come up with the fools will resign, wise players will accept a draw, but only a true genius would be able to win in this position? Well, actually, I said that phrase at the start of one specific video, which is actually my most famous video. This is the Saavedra position, where white only has one pawn left that is very close to promotion, but there is one rook that seems like it's very likely going to be able to sacrifice itself for the last pawn. But as it turns out, white is actually winning, which is quite crazy. And I realized that total beginners might think that they're actually losing here because they see the fact that black has an entire rook and they only have a pawn. But any player above like 500 would see the fact that the rook will have to sacrifice itself for the pawn, and so that this is a draw. But I don't know how many people, without knowing the position, would be able to find the actual line that wins. And so that's where the idea came from of saying fools will resign, wise players will make a draw, but only a true genius can win. And then you guys loved it, and so I kept it coming. Mustafa08642 asks, how do you find such insane positions for your reels, and how do you make it so engaging? So I find these positions everywhere. I am a hunter of chess positions. I look on forums, on blogs, everywhere online, videos, other channels. I take them from real games. I take them from chess apps like chess.com, Lichess, and then of course books, courses. I have a few books here, and I specifically select the puzzles that look like one of the two sides is completely losing and that side is actually the winning one, or there is some crazy draw, because I like a good upset. And for how do I make it so engaging? Well, I would say that the only real talent that I've always had is storytelling. Like, it's probably the only thing that I guess I could say I was born with. I've always found it very easy to come up with stories or ways to set up a good suspense, tension, how to reach a climax, how to come up with a plot twist, how to give character to different things. When I was a kid, my teachers noticed quite quickly the fact that I was writing quite engaging stories. And so I remember when I was like 9 or 10, I would write these essays, these like fantasy stories, and the teacher would read them to the class, which for me was like a massive honor, but I guess at the time was kind of favoritism. So yeah, well, I didn't realize at the time. RIPAB16 asks, are you planning to publish any books related to chess? Well, a little fun fact is the fact that I have already published a book, and I wanted to show you guys a copy, but I realized I don't even have a copy of my own book here in my flat. And as I was looking for the book, I realized that the reason why I don't have it is because someone wanted to buy a copy, but it took a while to order one, and so basically I sold them the one that I had here at home. The book is called The Young Beginner's Book of Puzzles, and it's a book that I created for my students, since most of them are very young. Often they start as early as 4, 5, and the concept is to have puzzles that are just one move every single time. There are a few chapters. There is one on hanging pieces. You just have to find the piece that is hanging, and then there's a chapter on checkmating one. There's a chapter on forks, and they can draw arrows directly on the book. I think it's about 120 puzzles. I don't remember exactly, but I am very proud of it. It's a very small book. It was my first book, and possibly in the future I might be planning to make more advanced books, or also books about possibly the history of chess or the psychology of chess. These are topics that interest me quite a bit. Podinho69 asks, chess only funds when? The Caveman Kiwi asks, did you ever think you would make it to this milestone? Well, that's a hard question. I don't remember if I at any point thought, oh, one day I'm gonna have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I don't think I have, but I've always had in the back of my mind the idea that it would be amazing to be doing content. But I think as soon as the channel started to take off a little bit, so I reached like maybe 10,000 subscribers, I thought, oh yeah, I can reach 100,000. Also, are you a positional player or a tactical player? So I used to think that I was quite tactical, but I've come to the realization that I am definitely a positional player. I think about the position in an extremely vague, strategical way. Just yesterday, I played a classical game against a 1917, and after the game, which ended in a draw, we were analyzing it, and I realized that at many points, he was giving me very concrete lines that he was calculating, and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I saw the outpost, I saw the doubled pawns here, and I thought this just wasn't good. Which, yeah, it just goes to show how I think about like the strategical concepts of a position, and I look at the board in a very positional way rather than concretely. So what would be more, I suppose, sharp and tactical and actually calculating forcing lines. And it's something that I definitely need to work on. I think that if I can complement my very good positional understanding with some more concrete calculation, that would definitely improve my chess quite a bit. Marvelino Frederick asks, what is your most memorable match and did you win? I think that there's more than one answer to this question. My match that is most widely remembered is the one where I won against the candidate master Manmai Chopra. Super cool dude, he was extremely nice to allow me to post the video, and a very strong player who could probably cook me every day of the week. But not on that game. It is to date my only actual over-the-board rated titled win. And it was a quite spectacular game because I was actually gaining some advantage from the opening. I played very sharply and I played it very well. And then I simply blundered. I blundered a fork in one move, and so he won a knight. And I kept playing. So in the spirit of the Fools Will Resign, I kept putting pressure and asking questions, and I didn't want to go down that easily. And despite being down material, I sacrificed even another exchange just to create more problems in the position. And eventually, he made a very huge blunder which turned the tables completely and landed us in a pawn and rook endgame. And at the time, my pawn and rook endgame technique was so bad that I was actually struggling despite being 3 pawns up. He was making it really hard for me to convert, but 3 pawns are 3 pawns, so eventually I was able to convert, and that is probably the most memorable match I've ever played. But the match that I personally find to be my most memorable is the one I played against Rocco Vairo in the first round of the Caravel Cup in Rome. This guy was 2100, and this was a classical game, whereas the other one was a rapid game. And it's a game that we played in one of my favorite lines of the London system, where you basically enter what I think it's called a Lasker Gambit or a counter Alapin Gambit, something like that, with white, which is a gambit that you usually play with black. And so I gambited a pawn out of the opening with white against someone that outrated me by 400 points. And I played extremely sharp the start of the game, very precise, and then it came to a point where he was actually completely winning. But again, I started creating a lot of problems, and he made one mistake, one inaccuracy that brought the position back to equality. And actually the only way for him to equalize was to sacrifice an exchange back in a moment where I was down on exchange. And from there I found a sequence of only moves. I think it was 6 only moves, so every move was a great move that led to an attack where I eventually won the game. And at the end of that game, I was so overwhelmed with emotion and pride, and also I guess adrenaline, that I actually started crying. And it's a moment that I caught on camera. I'll maybe show a little clip here. And I had made an amazing edit about this game, but unfortunately the mother of my opponent reached out to me asking that I would remove the video, and I knew I was well within my right to keep the video up because my opponent was an adult, and I had disclosed the fact that I was recording and the fact that I was going to post a video, and he said that he was okay with it, so I was completely in the right to keep the video up. But I'm too much of a people pleaser, and I said, okay, sure, I'll no problem, I'll just remove the video. I think moving forward, I will try to hold my own more. And if people ask to remove videos after they have agreed to be on camera, I will just say no. But that one game is my most treasured game, I think. Serebi asks, when are you going to be a titled player? Well, hopefully soon, but with FIDE ratings, it takes ages and ages. You're lucky if you can play 1 tournament a month, and if you win the entire tournament, you might gain like between 10 and 20 points. So you can imagine how long it's gonna take with classical ratings to go from 1700 up to 2200. And Caddy Plays 1 for 10 asks, didn't your parents say don't play chess, focus on studies? Well, my parents have always been very supportive of whatever I wanted to do. So, I mean, I studied music, so, it's not like I was going to study to be a doctor. And they still supported me, they believed in whatever I decided to do. And when I switched to chess, I mean, I was already living alone and independent, but still my parents are very supportive. My mom reposts each and every single one of my videos and comments under 99% of them. So yeah, I'm quite lucky to have supportive parents. Anastasis Simpas asks, what's your favorite chess player and opening for black and white? I think that my favorite player is probably Richard Rapport. He is, I think, one of the only top level players that still plays to some degree romantic chess. There was a very famous game this year between Richard Rapport and Pragnananda Ramesh Babu, where Rapport sacrificed a knight for like a very big attack, and this was like not even a checkmating attack, just a lot of initiative. And this is, the kind of stuff that Mikhail Tal used to do. So I really like Richard Rapport's games. It's a shame that he's not in the candidates this year. I really had fun when he was playing the candidates. And then for favorite opening, for black, I would have to go with the Sicilian. The Sicilian is the most combative way to meet e4. And there are so many ways to play the Sicilian. There's the Najdorf, there's the Sveshnikov, the Kalashnikov, which is what I play. And then there's the close Sicilian, the open Sicilian, the Alapin, the Smith-Morra, all of the anti-Sicilian systems. And for white, well, I have to go for the London system. And I know that a lot of people still to this day hate the London. But this boils down to, first of all, people not knowing how to play in an interesting way against the London. They think that since it's a system opening, that they are just going to play the same moves and that it's the only thing that they can do. No, there are so many ways to play against the London and to play the London. The London is actually very flexible if you play it properly. You don't always build the pyramid in the center. You don't always bring the bishop to the same square. You don't always attack on the same side. And I have had my best results in the London. I have had a winning position against Gawain Jones in the London. There has been a moment where I thought that I had to move on from the London because I was overwhelmed by all of these people saying, oh yeah, the London, you can play it up until a certain level and then you have to play more serious stuff. You need to play e4. And I started to believe that. And my coach talked sense into me. He was like, dude, your London is great. You're getting great results with the London. And it's what you know best. It's what you have a good feeling for. And a lot of top players do play the London. It was very important for me to see Dingley Ren play the London system in the World Chess Championship. And not only that, but he won with the London system. The London system officially has a 100% win rate in World Chess Championships. And so eventually I realized, no, you know what? Everybody else is wrong. I love the London is great and I'll keep playing it. And guys, I will bring you videos about the London. I will teach you how I play the London and how you can play it too, don't worry. Tao Malaya asked, who inspired you to make chess videos? My main inspirations, at least in terms of like style, were Chess with Akim, Gauri Chess, and Daniel Naroditsky. Abdallah Al-Bahadre asked, why do you play chess? This I guess it's a kind of deep question, but the truth is I almost quit chess. I will tell you the story more in detail probably in another video, but let's just say this. The only reason why I'm still playing chess is because I was able to turn chess into a job. And I don't mean this in a way like I don't love chess anymore, I'm only doing it as a job. Actually, the complete opposite. I loved chess way too much, which is why I had come to the conclusion that I had to stop because it was consuming my life. And then once it became my job, I was like, well, now I'm excused to keep playing chess. GM Lee MMXII asks, what do you do to improve and how do you calculate? Well, how do you calculate? We mentioned earlier that I don't know how to calculate well. I mean, of course, to some degree I do calculate, but I still don't have a very good system to do it, and it's something that I'm trying to work on. And what do you do to improve? I read books, I practice drills and courses, I go through endgame studies, I analyze my games every single time after every single game, or at least like 98% of my games, I analyze the game after playing it, even blitz games. I have a coach. I've had a coach for the past year or so, on and off. I play a lot every single day. I saw the other day that my chess.com streak is something like, wait, let me see. I have a 771 days streak on chess.com. And guys, honestly, that's all there is. You need to be obsessed with the game, love it, really want to improve. And remember that you need to study more than you play. Well, not more than you play, but 99% of players need to do more studying compared to how much they're doing right now. And also I watch YouTube videos. Daniel Naroditsky's speedrun is one of the best ways to learn how to play middle games. Tule Valdoris asks, what's your worst experience with an opponent? Well, I have a quite recurring experience with my opponents. I absolutely hate when they're chewing at the board. It's so rude. Like, why are you eating? Why are you eating while we are playing the game? Especially if it's something crunchy or noisy, or if they have like a packet that is very noisy. Like, just focus on the game. Like, it's so rude to be eating during the game. The noise is distracting, the smell is distracting. Just don't eat at the board, okay? Okay, well, I've recorded this for way longer than I wanted to. There's going to be a lot of editing to be done. But thank you guys so much for all of these questions. I am so excited for the next chapter. I'm so excited to get my plague. And thank you so much for the support. Love you all, and I will see you next time.